I wish I had my computer on me, but alas, I do not. Nonetheless, in this video, we're going to be discussing a lot of what happened across the MLB yesterday and what's going to come down to the final day of the season, which is going to be today. So yeah, let's just get started. So a lot of stuff has already been decided. The Brewers are locked into the 1 seed, Phillies locked into the 2 seed, Dodgers locked into the 3 seed, Cubs locked into the 4 seed, Padres locked into the 5 seed. We don't know who the 6 seed is going to be. Both the Reds and the Mets are 83 and 78. So realistically, neither of them deserve to make the playoffs. But the Reds have the head-to-head tiebreaker because they took 4 out of 6. So if the Reds win or the Mets lose, that will get the Reds a playoff spot, regardless of if they deserve it or not. So the Mets really screwed themselves over. They had a historic collapse. They were 45 and 24, best team in baseball when they woke up on June 13th. Took a 3-14 skid. Were still in contention for the division and still comfortably in a playoff spot. Had a good July, just to fall apart in August with a 2-14 skid to pretty much blow any chance they had of winning the division, and make their playoff spot a lot more in jeopardy. They had a pretty good end of August to re-solidify their spot, having a 5-game lead on a wild card spot with only 22 to play, and just completely choked it away as they went into an 8-game losing streak and have had a pitiful September so far. So it's been bad. To be polite, I'll put it that way. And the Mets have just a really good chance of choking everything away. Like a lot of these other teams that choked, well, not the Astros. The Astros were 20 up at one point. They were actually eliminated from the playoffs. I don't even know what happened in the Astros game last night. I really don't. It didn't matter, though. Both the Guardians and the Tigers won, so they both punched their ticket to October. They were at one point looking like they were going to comfortably win the division. I think they were 20 over at one point as well. 20 over 500. The Mets were 21 over 500. But when they were 85 and 75, and both the Guardians and Tigers were 87 and 74, that solidified both of their spots. So while the Tigers might have a historical collapse of the division, that's still very, likely to happen. At least it won't be as embarrassing as the Mets, because at least the Tigers will be playing October baseball to some extent. Red Sox also punched a ticket by beating the Tigers, so they didn't have a historical collapse once. And in the AL, we know who's making the playoffs. The Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox, Tigers, Guardians, and Mariners will all be playing October baseball. The only question is seeding. I'm pretty sure the Mariners are locked into the 2 seed because the Yankees and the Blue Jays are 93 and 68. So, again, we'll see an undeserving 1 seed in the AL like we did last year. If the Blue Jays win or the Yankees lose, the Blue Jays get the division. Otherwise, the Yankees do. And it's weird because at one point the Yankees had like a 6 or 7 game lead on the AL East in late May, but then they choked it away and fell behind the division in, early July. Yet at one point the Blue Jays had a 7-game lead in the division, in late September. So obviously, while it's embarrassing if the Yankees choked it to the Blue Jays, at least it's more of a mid-season collapse. The Blue Jays would have had a really bad late-season collapse if they actually give the division back to the Yankees, and it's possible. However, it's not super probable. But you have to go into this game like everything's on the line, because the difference between a 1 seed and having a bye to the ALDS and being stuck as a 4 seed and having to play in a wild card, this victory essentially counts as a victory in the wild card series for the Blue Jays and for the Yankees too. But the Yankees don't control their own destiny the way that the Blue Jays do. So the Blue Jays have to go into this with the assumption that everything is on the line. You have to go all in this game. If you lose the game that you go all in, I get that you're cooked. in the wild card round, but you gotta try. You've got to try. Now, as far as the AL Central, again, Guardians, Tigers are both 87 and 74. The Guardians were red hot, but it's also inexcusable for the Tigers. They at one point had like a 15.5 game division lead in July. It was still like 10-ish games at the start of September. They found a way to choke it away. Guardians are the tiebreaker. 1 point Guardians are the lead, but now the Tigers have reestablished themselves for a tie atop the AL Central. Looks like the Guardians are going to win it, barring a Guardians loss and a Tigers win. I will say the Red Sox pretty much have nothing to play for. Because I believe that they have 88 wins. So I think they're already locked into the 5 seed. I'm not 100% sure, and I can double check what's going on with the Guardians. I can know what's going on with the Red Sox and their seeding. They might be locked into the 5 seed already. I'm not totally sure. So the Guardians versus Tigers, I think, might be decided between 3 versus 6, although the 5 seed could come into play as well. I, again, need to check. But either way, that's going to be, an intense matchup. That race really came down to the wire. And, there are some notes that we got to make too. Like, for example, the Reds, if they pull it off, first postseason berth since 2020, and first time since 2013 that they made the playoffs in, the expanded, in a regular season, without COVID. And as much as I hate this because I'm a Mets fan, I always said I'd rather the Reds make the playoffs than the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks had recent success by making it to the 2023 World Series. They sold at the deadline. The Reds, again, it's annoying and it sucks, but at least they're a team that hasn't had a lot of happiness for a while. It would make the Mets collapse even more embarrassing, though, seeing as they got caught by a team that, is going to end their season, last 56 games, playing 500 ball. So, not like the Mets got caught by a team that was just like playing their asses off. Not like 2022 Braves or even 2007 Phillies-esque, where the Mets got caught by a really good team. You can't tip your cap to anyone. The Mets play like trash, but the Mets play like even more trash. And they shouldn't have even been playing for the third wild card spot anyway. They should have been playing for the division and a chance at the 1 seed. And this could very well set the franchise back many years as well. So, as far as the, we talked about the Astros and how they got eliminated. It's the first time missing the playoffs since 2016. Mariners get their first division title since 2001. If the Tigers pull off the division, I don't think they've won the division since 2014. Again, it's a big if as to if they pull it off. Blue Jays haven't won the division since 2015. So that would be interesting to see happen. So there's a lot of action going on across the NL. We already saw the Cubs make their first playoffs since 2020 and 2018 in a regular season. So there's already been a lot of action going on. And there's a lot more action to be had in the final day of baseball, with everything on the line. So again, a pretty intense day of baseball. A lot of stuff already happened, but there's still a lot to play for. The AL East is still in play. The AL Central is still in play. The final NL wildcard spot is still in play. So let's see what happens.